Pat Huntoon here with Technique Junkies, and today we're going to be making that beautiful retro Christmas card that you saw at the beginning of the tutorial. It is very dimensional, and it is just so pretty and very elegant looking. And we're going to be using some sets that I released previously a while ago, so let's get started. It's really cool. So I'm going to show you the sets first. So we're doing SS097 Season Greetings set of 6, and we're using the 2 pines from that. We're also using SO99 poinsettia, and we're using the largest poinsettia there. And we're using SDX 174 Merry Christmas, Retro Merry Christmas, and that is the Merry Christmas you saw on top. So first thing I'm going to do is actually stamp the poinsettia on a piece of watercolor paper. And the reason we're using watercolor paper is we're actually only using inks to color these. I'm going to stamp mine. I have a 4x4 piece of cardstock here, which is overkill. I don't need a piece of cardstock that big. And I'm going to be using the Catherine Pooler Midnight ink. And I'll be stamping that in the middle of there. So I'm going to just stamp that. I'm kissing the stamp with the Catherine Pooler black ink because it is a very juicy ink. And I don't want to get over inking on it. Let me just ink that again. Okay, so I am done inking that. I'm going to set my blank ink aside. I'm not going to use that again in this tutorial. Catherine Pooler watercolor ink is not only Copic friendly, but it is watercolor friendly too, which is really quite cool. So right now I'm going to set it aside, and then I'm going to just hit it with the heat tool real quick to make sure it's dry in a minute. So I'm taking a piece of 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of white Nina Solo white cardstock, and I'm putting that on my stamp positioner. And then I'm going to be using those 2 pine pieces from the other stamp set. So what I'm going to do is actually put a piece of acrylic in there. This is from an old stamp positioner, just because I want to know where this is going to stamp. So I believe that's the right position. And I can already see some shadow of ink here, but I will show you. I'm going to lightly ink that with Catherine Pooler Deck the Halls. This is a beautiful dye ink in just the perfect color for me. So that's exactly where I'd like that. So I'm going to stamp that one. Oh, stamped so nicely. Okay, so now I'm going to be using the other branch, and I'm only using a portion of it. I'm not using all of it. So I won't be inking this section here once I put this down. So I want to get a little curve there going up. I think I'm going to move this up because I want this to actually end on the cardstock at the top. So move that up a little bit, move this up a little bit. Now, where these meet, it's okay that they overlap because the poinsettia will go over the top of that. So I'm just going to ink it. Now, you probably can't see it because it's up above, but the area down here is not inked because I don't want that to show past my poinsettia. So that's where it will be. That's about right. I might want to even take a little bit of the ink off at the very bottom and just ink 3/4 of this. Okay, so now we have a little ink background, and we're going to set that aside for now. Okay, so I have dried my poinsettia lightly with my heat tool just to make sure that it's nice and dry. I would like to do a disclaimer right now because the way I'm going to do this is going to drive some of you insane because I am going to go outside the lines. I can do that because I'm going to be cutting this out. You could either cut it out or use your scan and cut, but I'm going to cut mine out. And I just washed my hands, so I'm trying to keep them nice and clean also. So what I'm doing is I'm using my work surface, I'm using a Tim Holtz mat as my palette. So I just put a little Deck the Halls at the top, a little Cranberry Fizz here. You notice I'm only using 3 inks. I'm using the Midnight Black from Catherine Pooler, the Cranberry Fizz, and the Deck the Halls. I'm also using a water brush. You can use a paintbrush and some water if you prefer. I'll zoom in just a little bit here, and I'm going to watercolor this. I will start by talking, and then I will speed it up so you don't have to watch me in real time. But basically, I'm starting with the Deck the Halls color, the dark green color, and I am getting quite a bit on my water brush, and I'm not we're actually going to use quite a bit of, I'm not going to use much water in the beginning here. All right, I'm already going outside the lines. So bear with me here, because I'll show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do all the edges, the inside edges of all of them in dark green, and then I'm going to take a little pot of water here and water my water brush a little bit. It's a little too close for my comfort. And I am going to kind of water this down a bit. Remember, there's no wrong here. So if you don't like what you're doing, just re-wet it or dab it. That takes off some of the color also. It's kind of just experimenting, seeing what you like. Okay, so I could leave the leaf like that. What I'm probably going to do is after the other ones dry, you're going to see me come back to some of these and adding more color, more deep color around the edges, so we really get the evergreen idea. So I'm going to do fast time now, and I will slow it down when we're getting ready to do the next step. Okay, once you get that color to your satisfaction, rough color to your satisfaction, dry it with a heat tool, which is what I'm going to do now, and put a little cleaner on your work surface and get that color off your work surface so you don't stick your hands into it. And I'll be right back. Just want to emphasize that you really do want to make sure if you're watercoloring that this is dry. Otherwise, you take the risk of the paper tearing when you actually cut it with your scissors. I'm going to just take a moment and do the inside of my poinsettias with the gold pen. That's colored in, and now I'm just going to cut this out. This is nice, clean, easy lines. You can always use the Scan and Cut to cut it out if you prefer, but I find it's really easy to cut. And again, okay, so now the poinsettia is fully cut. We have one more thing to stamp, and then we can put it together. Okay, our final stamping step is to take the Retro Merry Christmas and stamp it using the Deck the Hall inks on a piece of paper, a skinny piece of paper. Let me do that and come right back. Okay, I've got it stamped and cut down. I left a little at this end, tiny bit at that end. And now I would like to start putting this together onto the red. Now this piece of cranberry I have here is 1/8 of an inch all the way around. So that would make it 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then I'm going to attach it to my base cardstock. And all of these stamp sets have stamps that you can stamp onto the inside of this card. But I'm not showing that today. So I have a white base that's normal, 5.5 by 8.5. So there we go. We have it all put together there. Next, I'm going to be adding dots to the, I'm going to pop this up. So I'm flipping it over, flipping the poinsettia over, and I'm adding them to the leaves. And as many of the leaves as I can. Now, I could cut these in half and put them on the small leaves, but we're gonna maybe pull those up a little bit. The other place I'm adding this is to the Merry Christmas, the back of the Merry Christmas, right under the Christmas part, and maybe a little in the middle, because this is going to sit on top of the other popped part, and I want it to be at the same level. I'm also going to add some adhesive to this end to sit on top of the poinsettia. So those are all adhesived up. Just pull these off. And I could really turn this a multitude of ways, but I really would like this to be like that because I want these leaves to be at the bottom. I think it adds a nice balance to those. And remember, I have adhesive here. That is going to sit on top of the poinsettia. So with a little bit of my gold to show, which is why I'm fussing around with this. And there we go. It's attached. It's dimensional. It's so pretty. I could even highlight this even more by putting some gold stickles in there or some other gold in there. You can also do what I did here, which was I added a little bit of yellow into my poinsettia just to give it a little bit more color, and I added some gold up into that. So that is our tutorial today. Quick, simple, easy. Beautiful card, very effective, I think. I think it's one of the prettiest Christmas cards I've made this year, and I probably will be making quite a few of these for people. So I really enjoyed making this, and I hope you do. Thank you for watching today. If you enjoyed this tutorial from Technique Junkies, please give me a thumbs up on YouTube and consider subscribing to the Technique Junkies channel. The kit is at the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Bye now.